I'm white. I say that. Don't laugh. You know. Actually, last week I got picked up by a minicab driver who thought I was black. Not when I got in the car. Obviously, that would have just been weird. But he'd listened to the radio show for a bit, and that reminds me. I must say hello to Mufsan, who I bumped into yesterday, and I always get Goldhawk Road and Uxbridge Road mixed up. Goldhawk Road, I think it was. I did that thing where. I've mentioned this to you before. You know when we try and work out why young children are so anxious these days in a way that perhaps we weren't when we were younger. And there are a million different reasons, but I think one of the big ones is the size of the menu. You know when you go to a restaurant, if there's like 200 dishes on the menu, you just can't decide what. And it's not a pleasant experience. You just want 5 or 6 dishes. This is one of my new jams, by the way. You get a menu. You want, ideally, what, about 10 dishes to choose from? Maybe even fewer than that. You go to some of these funky places, and they've got about 200 dishes. You can get places now that'll do fried chicken on one side of the menu and Chinese food on the other. And that's what life is like for a child these days. And when they think about the options, when they think about everything that's open to them, it's intimidating, the scale of the choice. I never thought I'd say this. Because choice is freedom in many ways. But choice can also be tyranny, my dudes. And this is one of the examples, I think, of choice. Why are you talking about this? Well, because I was wandering around Goldhawk Road yesterday trying to buy a kebab. And there are so many kebab shops on Goldhawk Road that I spent half an hour walking up and down thinking, shall I get the one that comes in naan bread? Shall I get the one that's a German doner kebab? Shall I go to that authentic-looking place? Ooh, so there's a lot of people there in Arabic dress. They must know their kebabs. I might go into that one. Yeah! And after about half an hour, I'm getting hangry. I haven't even had a kebab. That is a digression, but it's not entirely irrelevant to the conversation that we're having because in many ways I was indulging in a little bit of cultural appropriation by wandering around West London looking for a kebab. I don't think I was indulging in white saviour syndrome. That would probably have involved me going in and telling all the customers of colour that they should put down their kebabs and instead have a delicious roast dinner with gravy. My daughter asked me the other day what British cuisine had contributed to world culture, and all I could come up with was gravy. You could argue a pie, couldn't you? But I don't think we get dibs on a pie. Calzone is a pie. It's like a pizza folded in half. It's essentially a pie. Most cultures have a working class equivalent of a pasty. It would be a calzone or a samosa. Do you see what I mean? But in terms of British cuisine, fish and chips, yeah, Jewish refugees, 19th century. Doner kebabs, Turkish bloke in Germany. Believe it or not. Doner kebabs essentially came out of Germany rather than the Middle East, which is why one of the kebab shops that I was toying with going into yesterday is actually called German Doner Kebabs, which at first glance seems a little odd, but at second glance is completely authentic. Chicken tikka masala, that's one of the British contributions to world cuisine, because no one in India's ever heard of it. What else would you call like a classic British dish? Gravy. French call it jus. But it's not the same. Gravy. Gravy is our contribution to world cuisine. And do you know what? I'm quite proud of that. I think it's a healthy contribution. 8 minutes after 11 is the time. Right, park that nonsense now and get stuck into the story proper. I mentioned that I'm white because there is a sense to this story. And, you know, I'm a big fan of David Lammy's, but being a big fan of a politician doesn't mean you have to agree with them about everything. Unless, of course, you're a big fan of Jeremy Corbyn's. In which case you do have to agree with him about everything, it seems. But I don't know that David's got this right. I don't know that Lammy's got this right. I know that Stacey Dooley has been criticised because she has travelled to Africa with Comic Relief and posted pictures of herself on Instagram of local women dancing and of children hugging her. The criticism is that this shows a distorted image of Africa and perpetuates a colonial era mentality that suggests white people are the solution to poverty in deprived parts of the world. Now, hand on heart, I would not look at this rather charming photograph of Stacey Dooley with a little Ugandan lad and see what David Lammy saw, which is why I stress that my ethnicity may be relevant to my perspective on this. You know, however much one believes in inequality and multiculturalism, it is not the same as equivalence. You know, for example, if somebody were to abuse me for being white, in Britain at this point in history, it would not be the same as a white person abusing someone for being black because of where the power lies, you see. Racism is discrimination plus power. I can be discriminated against, but I can't really be a victim of racism in the sense that my society is skewed against people of my ethnicity. You know, I've never really been the victim of a police service adjudged to be institutionally racist against people with my skin colour. There's no evidence that people with my skin colour get paid less for doing the same job. There's no evidence that people with my skin colour routinely get discriminated against in jobs and employment scenarios. So I can be discriminated against for being white by somebody who isn't white, or even by somebody who is white but is trying to fulfill a more diverse quota system. But I can't be a victim of racism in the purest sense because white people have the power in my society and I am currently white. I suspect permanently. So I look at this picture as a white bloke and it doesn't occur to me that it's perpetuating a distorted image of Africa, a colonial era mentality. I also, at this point, would stress that in my mind and my understanding of history, I don't see the colonial era as being a signpost of white altruism. We obviously did some good when we ruled half the world, but most of the good that we did was for our own benefit. It wasn't really for the benefit of the people living there. You know, we might have built railways in India, but that was so that we could ship stuff back to Britain or flog it around the rest of the world. We did not build railways in India so that Indian people could commute more conveniently. You're going to have to take my word on that one. Similarly, when you look at what happened in countries like Rhodesia, and to a lesser extent South Africa and other parts of Africa, you don't really get to portray it as being a missionary effort dedicated to improving the lives of African people. It was essentially the British Empire turned the world into a crop that we got to reap. Okay, and some of what we reaped trickled down to the locals, but not much and nowhere near enough to claim that it was some sort of positive project. So I don't see it. I don't look at Stacey Dooley holding this Ugandan lad and see a perpetuation of the colonial era mentality. But again, I'm white. And Lammy's argument is that this suggests white people are the solution to poverty in deprived parts of the world. One of the nice things about being quite a prominent anti or non-racist is that I can say things that are a little nuanced and controversial, secure in the knowledge that 99% of the people listening will know 100% of people listening will know exactly what I mean and where I'm coming from, and only about 1 to 2% will pretend that they don't and try to claim that I'm saying something controversial. I'm not. Do you, as a third-generation British West Indian, really look at a picture of a Ugandan child in the arms of Stacey Dooley and feel more kinship with the Ugandan child in the arms of Stacey Dooley than you do with Stacey Dooley? 0345 6060 973. Because I don't really feel a kinship with either. I just see somebody from my society helping somebody from a very different, much poorer society. I'm not suggesting I'm blind to colour. That would be silly. But oddly, and perhaps wrongly, but I'm being completely honest with you because I have to be if I want you to be completely honest with me. I don't know whether you're going to laugh or scoff or just nod along sagely to what I'm about to say. It makes no difference to me whether Lenny Henry is photographed holding a little Ugandan orphan or whether Stacey Dooley is. It makes no difference to me. I do not see two profoundly different narratives. One has to conclude that David Lammy does, because you couldn't accuse Lenny Henry of perpetuating the idea that white people are the solution to poverty in deprived parts of the world. Obviously, this goes back to Bob Geldof, I suppose, for my generation, is the patron saint of fundraising for African people. In that case, of course, the Ethiopian famine. So, can you try to tell me what Stacey Dooley is supposed to have done wrong?
I think this story is actually really good for our side because it shows the average person that even someone like Stacey Dooley, a really good-hearted, kind woman who just wants to help the little black kids in Africa, even her, no agenda, no sort of nasty agenda, no, nothing like that. Even she is racist. And to be clear, I understand she's called white saviour, but all of these terms mean the same. You know, racist, far right, fascist, Nazi. It means heretic, the bad man, the witch, burn the witch. That's all it is. And so we are born with the original sin of being white. And there is no redemption for that. You are racist. If Stacey Dooley is racist, we are all racist. And there's no way to get over that. In fact, actually, there is possibly one way. If you are a white person who is about to commit suicide, you have the razor blades in your hand, then maybe you're not racist. If you're about to actually physically end whiteness, a small part of whiteness, then you're not racist. But other than that, no. You are, that's it, you're condemned. And by the way, just to be clear, please don't kill yourself. Don't commit suicide. White people don't do that. So, anyway, it's important when reacting to this story to always put the blame on the corrupt politicians who conspired with the New Zealand shipping company to implement the Windrush, which allowed David Lammy's parents to enter this country. You can't blame David Lammy himself. He is not to blame. It is the corrupt elites. Like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe. Please comment. Ilu Sassoon. Peace out.